When the war ended and the camps were opened, the world finally saw what had been hidden behind barbed wire: starvation, death, and a level of cruelty that seemed impossible to comprehend. But one detail stood out: many of the guards weren't hardened soldiers. They were ordinary women. Women who, once placed inside the system, carried out beatings, torture, and killings as part of their daily routine. At Bergen-Belsen, some of them became infamous for their brutality, and when Allied forces arrived, justice came quickly. What followed became one of the most unsettling series of executions of the entire post-war era. Inside the camps, violence wasn't just a command from above. It became the air everyone breathed. Each guard chose how far to take it. Some enforced order with cold detachment, others turned cruelty into habit. But all of them became part of a system that erased humanity, both in the prisoners and in themselves. Who were these women? How did they rise through the camps? And why did their final moments leave such a haunting legacy? To understand what happened at Bergen-Belsen, we need to go back to where many of these women first learned their trade. The earlier camps like Majdanek. These were training grounds for cruelty, places where female guards discovered how to control, punish, and dominate. Between 1942 and 1944, 28 women served at Majdanek. Their reputations varied depending on whom you asked. Some were remembered for relentless beatings, others for a colder, bureaucratic kind of violence, less visible but no less damaging. Two names came to define that world. Hermine Braunsteiner, born in Vienna in 1919, began at Ravensbrück before moving to Majdanek, where she quickly built a reputation for brutality. By 1944, she was head overseer at another camp, remembered by survivors as a woman who seemed to take pride in violence itself. Then there was Herta Ehlert, older, stricter, less openly sadistic, but still deeply enmeshed in the system. She too started at Ravensbrück and transferred to Majdanek, enforcing the same rules and the same dehumanizing order. Together, their careers show how the camp system didn't just use violence, it built it into everyday life. These women weren't outsiders, they were products of a structure that rewarded obedience and punished compassion. When British troops arrived at Bergen-Belsen in April 1945, that world collapsed. On April 15th, they entered expecting a standard surrender. What they found was closer to a nightmare. 60,000 prisoners still alive, barely able to stand. Over 10,000 corpses scattered across the grounds, stacked in heaps or lying where they had fallen. The smell of death clung to everything. The soldiers weren't entering a camp anymore. They were walking through a mass grave. Disease was everywhere. Typhus, dysentery, tuberculosis. Even after liberation, hundreds died every day. The British quickly shifted focus from victory to survival. Medical tents were set up, food, water, and medicine were brought in, but for many, help came too late. As doctors worked to save lives, soldiers began another mission, tracking down the guards who had ruled the camp. Some tried to vanish into the crowd, stripping off their uniforms and pretending to be prisoners. But survivors recognized them instantly. One by one, they were pulled from the lines. Joseph Kramer, the commandant known as the Beast of Belsen. Irma Grieser, just 21, strikingly young and notoriously cruel, dubbed by prisoners the Beautiful Beast. They didn't resist arrest. Some stood silent, others muttered denials, but the evidence around them was impossible to ignore. The corpses, the starving survivors, the testimonies. Soon after, the British set up a courtroom in the nearby town of Lüneburg. 45 defendants stood trial, 25 men, 20 women. Their crimes weren't about battle or politics, they were about humanity itself. When the trial opened in September 1945, survivors stepped forward to tell their stories. Some could barely speak, others recited their experiences in steady, measured tones. Beatings for speaking out of turn, starvation as punishment, children left to die in filth. Evidence piled up, photographs, rosters, records, everything meticulously documented. In the courtroom, the accused shifted uneasily. Some insisted they were only following orders, but those excuses broke apart under witness after witness. On November 17th, the verdict was read. 11 death sentences, including Joseph Kramer and Irma Grieser. 19 others received prison time and 7 were acquitted. The message was unmistakable. Obedience would not erase guilt. Those sentenced to die were moved to Hamelin prison. No press, no spectacle, just waiting in silence. On December 13th, Britain's chief executioner, Albert Pierrepoint, arrived. One by one, the condemned were led to the gallows. Irma Grisi was among the first. She was only 21 years old when the rope tightened around her neck. By the end of that day, 11 bodies hung in the stillness of Hamelin prison. Justice delivered with quiet finality. Back at Bergen-Belsen, disease still clung to the camp. The British made a grim choice: to destroy it. Every hut, every watchtower, every wall was burned to the ground. The fire consumed the camp until nothing remained but ashes, not as revenge, but as a way to stop death from spreading any further. But while the camp vanished, its memory did not. Survivors carried it for the rest of their lives. The trials carved it into history. Bergen-Belsen became more than a name. It became a warning. The executions at Hamelin weren't just about punishment, they were a reckoning, proof that even the young and seemingly ordinary could become instruments of horror, proof that silence in the face of cruelty is its own form of guilt, and they marked a turning point, the moment when crimes against humanity became a global principle rather than an abstract phrase. Today, Bergen-Belsen stands as a memorial. Survivors and students walk its grounds, and the world stops to remember what happened there. The women of Bergen-Belsen, Irma Grese, Hermine Braunsteiner, Herta Ehlert, weren't born monsters. They became them. Power and cruelty fused into one. Their executions left behind more than an ending. They left questions that still hang in the air. Who were they before the uniforms? What led them to such darkness? And what does it say about how far ordinary people can go when a system teaches them to stop seeing others as human? Those are the questions Bergen-Belsen forces us to confront, and that's why its story can never be forgotten.